clap more clapping. Thank you so much, our chief guest. At this juncture, let us be seated.
Baringo women representative there, Gladwell Tungo, flagging off food donations to residents of Baringo County to cushion them from the ravaging drought situation. Now, away from that, Migori Governor Obado is before the Senate Committee on Public Accounts and Investment Committee to answer to audit queries. Obado is explaining his budgetary allocations and expenditure for the year 2017-2018. His grilling comes just days after his Kiambu counterpart Ferdinand Waititu appeared before the same committee with shocking revelations on how his government spent millions on State House affairs, peacekeeping in South Sudan and several national functions. Committee Chair Moses Kajwang has warned Council of Governors against interfering with their oversight role.
The public has complained that Parliament is not current in its consideration of audit reports. Last year we were looking at 2013-2014 audit reports, which is not useful to any Kenyan. People want us to look at current reports. We took the decision to request you to submit written responses before this committee to enable us deal with these things concurrently and be current. Now, I don't think we have seen this kind of approach of all the governors that have appeared before us, because they have complied with the letters that we have written to them.
Governor waited. He arrived and waited for all that time to come and appear before this committee, setting the first step of compliance. And then having set that pace for compliance and waited and then appeared before the committee, then the appropriate procedure then from there would be, and is, Governor, as the step-by-step process is undertaken, comply. The most important thing that I wanted to highlight here is that under the rules of this committee, a witness who appears before this committee has got, under the same article of the Constitution, the freedom covered by that law to make all their submissions. He has the leeway to say anything, including any complaints or reservations that they may have. And so just wanted the governor to know that after that process, then he can take, after the chair has made his remarks, or even before, as the chair may rule, then make all the issues, highlight all the issues that are necessary. But for the process to continue, Chair, then it is important that the structural arrangement of Parliament, Governor, requires you to comply.
Governor Obado, this House of Records, and you are under the obligation that you will table all the audited accounts 2013, 2014, which you must have done in the previous years, 2014, 15, 16, 17, and the current one, which we are examining, 2017, 18. We have had the opportunity to screen through the previous years, but for that record to be complete, it's, I think, in your interest, in the interest of Migori County, that you now formally submit that as your report that you are submitting to this committee, so that it's on record.
So it means that the governor has prepared them. Probably it's just not an issue of not coming along with them. And then that would mean that we must demand, because that formality, as Professor said, we must go through that process. It cannot be sent through the back door. It has to be laid properly before the committee for us to consider it as a response from Migori.
I think it would be proper for us to proceed with the 2017-2018 and then request the governor to resubmit the 2015-16, 16-17 under oath, and then now from there, once we receive the documents, we can then set a date to invite the governor to appear before the committee.
We have had some very interesting revelations through this audit process. A week or two back, we had Kiambu County, where an issue emerged on budget execution. This has generated a lot of interest and a lot of heat, and I must say a lot of drama, particularly from the public. Thanks to the efforts of the media, it emerged that close to 6 or 7 other counties were having similarly bizarre budget lines. And this forced the Council of Governors to attempt to investigate the causes of those bizarre budget lines. The Senate has got no problem with the Council of Governors sitting together, because I know it is a caucus for the governors, sitting together and discussing issues of mutual and common interest. I hope that whatever the Council of Governors is doing on this particular matter is not to rewrite the audit reports, because the audit reports, once tabled in the House, they cannot be amended. I hope what the COG is doing is not to try to trash the Auditor General. This is a constitutional office that must be given the protection and the recognition that it deserves. I also hope that the Auditor General, in the context of these discussions with the COG, is not going to find himself in a situation where he's disowning his own reports, because that then would be a tragedy for this country. So I encourage the COG to proceed in its own consultations. But there are only two things I would want to encourage the COG not to attempt to do. Number one is to direct the Senate on how it's going to do its work. And number two is to direct governors not to appear before this committee. I'm very glad that the governor of Migori has appeared before this committee, because responsibility or accountability is individual.
Started on a poor note, because I was not very, very pleased with certain remarks that I've been seeing, and the recent one being remarks attributed by none other than yourself. Like you recall that I think over the weekend you went for some public function, and then you decided to give me as a very bad example. When you are talking about the counties and accountability,